ask not what Bitcoin can do for you, ask what you can do for Bitcoin.
And what will a society built on Bitcoin entirely look like?
But I have to be honest, I was a shitcoiner first.
Gold can't go in this.
When you have Bitcoin, you don't feel the need to be bad.
Bitcoin truly is hope.
Hey. Welcome to BitConnect. It's not BitConnect, it's Bitcoin Atlantic. And
Atlantis?
Atlantis. This is one of the biggest Bitcoin conferences in the world, and it landed here in Madeira. It's like aliens took over our little island, and we are here to enjoy it.
Gold can't go in this. I can't put gold in my brain. Do you guys understand how mind-boggling that is?
What does it mean to be a Bitcoin Maxi?
I think what it means is that you understand the spirit of Bitcoin and that you realize that everything else is not as good as Bitcoin. As Michael Saylor says,
Bitcoin is the best, there is no second best.
we say everything else is a shitcoin, which sounds very derogatory, but what that really means is everything else is a copy of something that's already perfect, and it's not as good a copy. It doesn't work in the same way.
But doesn't it create a little bit of division among a community that ultimately all want the same freedom?
Potentially, it could be viewed as that way, that it creates some division. However, I think it more is an aspiration, an inspiration for them to see the fallibility of their kind of centralized system and how they're copying something that already exists that we already know is broken. You know, Bitcoin is the new model. We want people to migrate to the new model, and they won't come necessarily because they're convinced to, but because it will be shown to be the only thing that actually works and is actually real.
So I got into Bitcoin in 2015. So Bitcoin has been a pretty significant part of my life for the last almost a decade. And a lot of you guys know that we bought our house here in Madeira in 2021 with Bitcoin. It was basically the first house in Portugal to be bought with crypto. I've always said that crypto is the future of money. Moving away from money as we know it, the dollar, the euro. That's why we have the possibility of buying houses with crypto, selling, but also having a conference here on Madeira Island where 5,000 people are showing up to absorb knowledge, to talk with each other, but also trying to figure out where we're going.
So proof of work doesn't require trust. Proof of work can be done by anyone. So whenever a shitcoin is like, oh, we made a faster Bitcoin, they're lying to you.
So they have an art corner here with Bitcoin art. That's how official Bitcoin is. And there are two people showing up at this conference that are kind of incredible because everyone knows them. It's Michael Saylor, who is the biggest Bitcoin holder with MicroStrategy.
Now we all know Bitcoin is the best asset.
And then you have Jack Dorsey, the guy behind Twitter.
We agree that the result was not impartial.
Very controversial person, and he's actually doing a speech on the age of censorship, which is quite interesting because Jack Dorsey and Twitter during the Trump era,
Sailor. And we're not going to do the 4-hour Lex podcast.
Yeah, I think it keeps going up forever. I mean, there's no reason we couldn't go to 10 million a coin.
What is your Bitcoin investment strategy?
I have this guy that I trust with all my money, and he's been doing a pretty good job. I also sleep with him.
So as all Bitcoin and crypto influencers say, this is not financial advice, but for the last long time, we've had everything in crypto because, for example, if you look at the dollar and the inflation, a word everybody has become familiar with the last couple of years.
If you go around the corner, I have posted the deed to this house sold in 1930. The number on that deed is $100,000, 1930. And if you go on Zillow and you get the Z estimate,
is it higher than that? No.
$30,500,000.
Yeah.
So in 92 years, we've had 305x increase in price of the house. Now, if you actually back calculate, you come to a conclusion that the inflation rate was approximately 6.5% a year, every year for 92 years.
Even though that crypto is insanely volatile, I don't really see any alternative in terms of growing, holding money.
This is the digital asset. Maybe this is the only digital asset.
So we have a family here who have started a de-schooling system where kids, they come and they learn a lot of things, but they do it out of their own interest. So for example, they will teach anything from farming the land to farming bitcoins, which is super, super cool.
So rather than taking your kids and force them into a classroom for 7 hours every day, 5 days of the week, here you give them a big piece of land, and that is their canvas to do whatever they want, because you want children to play around and do what they want, rather than saying you need to do this, because as soon as you create resistance, you start to force a child into, involuntary trauma. This is the future, and this is what more and more people are moving towards. We want freedom. We want to live a life of joy rather than hatred and division.
Guys, we have some very exciting news to share with you. And given the fact that we are at the Bitcoin conference, it makes totally sense to share it with you guys right now.
Because the last 2 years we have been working towards this very home living concept, along with Nokken and Prometheus, which is based around being in nature, self-sustainability, and design-led architecture as the founding pillars of our philosophy.
We call it Bloom Residence, and we like to say that this is a place where humans come to grow.
That's the tagline.
Yeah. As you guys know, we are about to move into our dream villa this very month, and we are freaking excited about it. However, along this last 3 years, we have learned a lot about what it means to build a house here in Madeira.
It truly is a strenuous process that takes 3 to 4 years from you choose your land to you finally get the keys to your home.
With Bloom Residence, we cut that number down to 12 months, and it's simply done because we built off-site in a warehouse while we are waiting for the license to be approved.
So each Bloom residence will be completely unique and designed for the specific land it goes onto, where you'll have 200 square meters with 3 ensuite bedrooms, kitchen, dining, living area, office gym, and even yoga area, in addition to a black natural infinity pool.
And really my favorite feature about Bloom Residence is that each house is built around one flower, which could be the protea or the calendula flower.
Echium.
Or echium, yeah. And basically what you get is like a luxurious home that is wrapped in natural beauty. And with Bloom Residence, you grow your own food, you have your own water supply and rely on your own electricity.
And just like we bought our home with Bitcoin, you can buy a Bloom Residence with Bitcoin. It's much like the ideology of Bitcoin Maxis, where it's built on freedom and individual sovereignty, and the Bloom Residence can go anywhere in Europe. It's not just limited to Madeira Island.
So in many ways, this is really our dream coming true.
It is our dream.
And we have partnered up with Nokken and Prometheus, which ensures that the quality will be held to the same standard as the Aurora and the Ciudad villas. Our whole project with Bloom makes it extra interesting to have a conference like this on Madeira Island, because we truly believe that the future of economy allows us to buy a lot of things with Bitcoin, like we did with our villa. So when we walk around here and see all these people that are like-minded, it's very, very cool to understand that these opportunities are only getting greater.
Over time, the journalist will do the poking because they know the most important thing in the world today is Bitcoin.
It's a new day!
If this conference is also about selling Madeira Island to possible islanders, future islanders, this weather here couldn't be better. I mean, it is so beautiful. Imagine people haven't been here before and they're standing there. It's the best of two worlds coming together. Bitcoin and just paradise. High on Bitcoin.
I am missing some of my Bitcoin girls. I really want to talk to some of the girls that are into Bitcoin. I found one, come. What is the ideal world for a Bitcoiner like you? What got you into Bitcoin?
Yes, so I started in Bitcoin like in 2019. My brother started to bothering me every day, like, you have to search about Bitcoin, you have to know about Bitcoin, you have to open your eyes.
Are you a Bitcoin Maxi?
Yeah, of course.
And this is Carlos,
yeah.
and you are a politician or starting a political party?
Yeah, we are trying to set up a libertarian party in Portugal, and we are, like, say, at 60% of the signatures needed to set up the party.
So the philosophy is freedom, right?
Yeah, of course. Freedom, capitalism, individual liberty.
So what would a society look like if you were 100% in charge of it?
Well, I will not be in charge because I'm a libertarian. Well, anyway.
Well, but
joke. Yeah, of course.
So Laura, how long have you been into Bitcoin?
I've been into Bitcoin for 5 years, but I have to be honest, I was a shitcoiner first. So I've been a Bitcoin maximalist for 2 years and a half now.
Okay. And what made you what was attractive to you for Bitcoin?
So I was a graphic designer. I was looking for a job. It wasn't easy to find a job in my hometown in Italy. So I started to ask friends, and this guy was working for this company in Hong Kong. They needed for a logo and social media graphics. I accepted the job. But when it was about to pay me, they were super embarrassed. They called me and they were like, I'm so sorry, we never sent money to Italy. It's going to be super expensive and it's going to take like 3 weeks. Can we pay you with Bitcoin? And I said, well, I mean, you can even pay me with bananas if I can pay my rent with it. So I accepted and I received the Bitcoin payment in like 5 minutes. That thing blew my mind.
a lot of people, when you talk about Bitcoin, it's like the digital gold. And I think a lot of people, they really have fixed their mind on that as opposed to Bitcoin being the be-all force of transactions, say buying coffee. Would Bitcoin actually work if 7 billion people were using it?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, the great thing about Bitcoin is there's 21 million, it's a fixed supply. As that supply starts to be amassed by a certain amount of people, eventually those people will need services from other people, and those people will want Bitcoin because it's the hardest money. So the people who are hodling today will have to start spending their Bitcoin to get the services from other people that they're providing, because they're going to want that money, and that's the only thing they're going to accept. They're not going to take fiat. So yes, Bitcoin itself, people can say it's slow. I don't know, is 10 minutes really that slow? It is if you're buying a cup of coffee, but there are layer 2s. There are things like Lightning. You can have it instantly. More and more technologies will be developed on top of Bitcoin, with Bitcoin being the base layer, the ultimate settlement layer.
So you think it is possible to do what, they say XRP can do, all the cross-border transactions? You think that Bitcoin can basically do what all the other coins claim to do better?
Look at the market cap. It's pretty obvious that the world believes that Bitcoin is the only true sound hard money.
What have you seen as the biggest change for people's idea of Bitcoin over the last 5 years, let's say?
In the last 5 years, the biggest change in my perception was seeing Bitcoin as money. When I started in 2019, only the HODL narrative and Bitcoin as a reserve asset was growing and was really popular. And to talk about spending Bitcoin even through Lightning was something that was not so much discussed as it is now. So now we are seeing like a peer-to-peer system being created, platforms, circular economies like Bitcoin Beach, Jericoacoara in Brazil, like Rolante in Brazil, that's another circular economy. Here in Madeira as well is growing a big circular economy. So this is how the Bitcoin as money, as a medium exchange is growing a lot.
So as a libertarian, you always get the question, who will build the roads?
The roads have been built by private, even in previous centuries, so it's like a joke.
So basically, the dream society is to have no government, and everything is just run by natural organic communities.
Yeah, of course. And those of course there will be forms of government, not state government collectivized. But anyway, as a party, of course, we have to adapt to reality.
What made you go all in on Bitcoin instead of all the other coins?
Oh, this is a funny story. I was a shitcoiner at first, but then I started to travel with my partner. We are traveling now the world reporting Bitcoin adoption, and in my head it was like half altcoins and half Bitcoin, because but then we started traveling and people are doing amazing things with Bitcoin. There are communities all over the world. People are changing their lives thanks to Bitcoin, and there are no altcoins on the street. Like, you literally see nothing. No one is using Cardano. No one is using Solana. When you go on the street, you see like people selling hot dogs for Bitcoin. In South Africa, you don't see people using Solana to change their lives. So that was magical for me to see. It took me 1 month of travel to realize that there are no chance for other cryptos.
Go look at the logarithmic scale for Bitcoin over the last 10 years. Every high is higher than the previous high, every low is higher than the previous low. It always just continues to go up, and it will continue to go up indefinitely.
Everyone you encounter is an opportunity to improve the world by gaining their support for Bitcoin. If you knew that drinking dirty water would kill you, you would tell people you love to stop drinking it.
The question is, what is my experience with it?
Witnessing censorship and...
Witnessing censorship, okay.
I wanted to add a few thoughts of my own about Michael Saylor and what he's saying here, because he says that Bitcoin needs everyone. Bitcoin needs big corporations.
We need them. Companies are not evil empire creature that's against you. Companies are just made up of people.
Bitcoin needs governments.
Because oftentimes people think, well, the government is against Bitcoin, and what I'm here to say is the government is made up of people.
Bitcoin needs these ETFs, BlackRock.
These ETFs that have bought up 1% of the supply of Bitcoin, well, they have conveyed 100x as much benefit to the people that don't believe in ETFs. They're not hurting you.
This is quite interesting because if you imagine Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, all these huge corporations, if they start to buy up Bitcoin, they will own the majority of Bitcoin pretty fast. And as I understand, when you own more than 51% of Bitcoin, you can change the code. When we talk with all these Bitcoin Maxis, they see Bitcoin as this, escape from draconian totalitarian regimes. And if we want these people into Bitcoin, aren't we creating the same problems once again? Jack Dorsey, he talks about him in Twitter as a single point of failure.
When you have a single point of failure with people like myself, if you can remove those single points of failure and not put it all into, for instance, one algorithm or one company or one service or a decision in the form of one person.
So when he was in charge of Twitter, it became censored because so many instances, governmental, big corporations were pushing him to change the narrative, to do what they wanted him to do. And that's why he now supports this social platform called Nostr. If we do what Michael Saylor says, that we attract all the corporations, all the big money, I mean, won't that be a single point of failure in the sense that they will definitely own the majority of Bitcoin?
Do you think that all money will flow into Bitcoin?
Yes, absolutely.
So eventually we'll have a $500 trillion market cap with Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
What do you think it takes for Bitcoin to reach this level where it actually takes over the fiat system?
Two things. Patience, to know that everyone has their time to understand Bitcoin and pass through that process of questioning, understanding, and being totally orange-pilled and become a maximalist. And courage to keep working, keep doing, keep creating, and keep talking to people, helping them to understand and building tools. Like all the devs, all the companies, all the platforms, they are really brave to build things against the fiat, or to help more people to leave the fiat mindset or the fiat ice cubes and go into the Bitcoin and feel empowered globally. With Bitcoin, you can feel safe globally. This never happened before.
And what will a society built on Bitcoin entirely look like?
Well, that's really interesting because Bitcoin changes the paradigm. Governments today can print money. If they want to have a war, they tax or they print money and they can go out and have a war. You can't print Bitcoin. If you have your Bitcoin and you don't want to spend it with something that you don't support, you don't have to. There's no way for someone to get that from you. So there's the fixed supply really changes the dynamics. So it sounds you know, it sounds like, oh, Bitcoin's going to fix everything, right? Like we hear that all the time. Bitcoin does fix everything. It's not necessarily going to be in a rose-tinted glasses sort of way, but it is really going to change the dynamics. It's going to change how governments operate. It's going to change how people operate with one another. So yes, I think we will be a more peaceful world, will be a more equitable world, and will be a world that has a truly free market.
So in a world where crypto takes over the fiat system, what do you think a world like that would look like?
I believe that it will be a more happy world where people choose to help their friends, help their family, focus on the important things, not think about the corrupt money that we have right now. I think the corrupt money that we have right now makes people bad, makes people don't focus about the right things. So with Bitcoin, the world becomes better, the world becomes brighter.
Can you explain to me how it works when you want to go get a bank loan or a loan for a house? So today they just literally type in a number and make up the money in the system. They print money. How does it work if you have a fixed supply?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Bitcoin is an asset. People will borrow against that asset. When there's only Bitcoin, I guess you would get loaned Bitcoin against your Bitcoin at some sort of loan to value ratio that makes sense so that you can use that Bitcoin. Your credit worthiness will be based upon how much Bitcoin you hold. I don't know that I know I can't describe exactly what that's going to look like in the future, but it'll be based upon borrowing on Bitcoin or your ability to earn Bitcoin, similar to what it is today, but in a more equitable way. The bank won't simply be able to print the asset or turn your debt into an asset that it can borrow against, and that's the biggest difference.
And the last question, what do you think the future is with Bitcoin, and what do you see as the ideal future of Bitcoin?
People not calling themselves Bitcoiners anymore. Like, we don't call ourselves interneters. We as Bitcoiners and conferences have to become obsolete, and it's a good thing, in my opinion.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting when we talk with all these Bitcoin enthusiasts. I think that's the best word to use rather than Bitcoin Maxis. And actually, I think freedom enthusiasts, because this goes back to the foundation of our idea behind our Bloom residence and this concept of, you know, you live in freedom in the sense that you have your own food, you have your own electricity, you have your own water, at least here in Madeira. This society that Bitcoin enthusiasts want is exactly what we came to Madeira for in many ways, that you create communities with like-minded people. And I think that's what we have here in Madeira in a growing scale. And the big question is, how do we grow these communities to a point where that is what we call society? I think that it's important to believe. I think believing is what we really need. As difficult and as impossible it may look, we need the laser eyes.
It's kind of rewarding to come a place like this where you have a lot of like-minded spirits, you know?
You know, instead of like-minded, I like the word open-minded.
Open-minded, yeah.
Bitcoin truly is hope, because you see an exit, you see a doorway.
I think I'm becoming a Bitcoin Maxi, guys.
I think you look like an elf. I'm not loving that look on you. I mean, it's not against the socks.
Amelia,
it's just, you know.
It's not about what Bitcoin can do for me. It's what I can do for Bitcoin.
True.
Amelia, it's day 3.
Right.
How's the makeup?
It's not the makeup. It is day 3. Everyone is super hungover because everyone went to the party/festival last night. So I am curious to see if anyone is actually here today.
I'm here with Malcolm. And you've been here all 3 days?
I've been here all 3 days, yeah, listening to it. It's been very interesting.
And, you know, we have been talking with a lot of people, a lot of Bitcoin maxis, but also a lot of people who just appreciate Bitcoin, but crypto as a whole. What do you have as a takeaway from this weekend?
One thing that for me personally is very important is that we don't box people. And I think one should be an open community to discuss. And, you know, I've just come out of a speech now where it's very much Bitcoin focused and how everything else is bad. And I have a concern with that.
Solana uses proof of history, whatever the that means. I Googled, when was the last time Solana went down? It was like Tuesday.
What would you say to people that are holding XRP or other, in your opinion, shit coins? Do you think there is a future for them even when they're holding other coins?
I believe that if they have Bitcoin, they have a future.
What would be great if the strengths of Bitcoin could be shared amongst the Bitcoiners with other cryptocurrencies to get rid of those bad elements. And I think there's in the world there's only space for community growth and for discussion. And one doesn't want to box things. And I have a concern that maybe Bitcoin is boxing themselves and not being open to discussion.
Ask not what Bitcoin can do for you, ask what you can do for Bitcoin. Bitcoin needs you. And my deepest hope is when you leave, you'll leave empowered, inspired, and enabled to go do good for Bitcoin wherever you go back to after you leave Madeira.
I think if you look at it, do we want to go into a society where the whole world is run again by one particular protocol? Or are we open, where people can have their own choice?
So do you think that Bitcoin or crypto as a whole will be the savior of humanity's freedom?
Personally, I think the knowledge of privacy and a right to people's independence, and I'm a strong proponent that, yes, I do believe what Bitcoin is doing and other cryptocurrencies are doing, the good ones, that it will make a difference and it will be. But I think there are bigger players at play at the moment. I think AI is a bigger player.
My takeaway from this weekend here is that whether you're a Bitcoin Maxi or you like Bitcoin, but you also like a lot of other coins, ultimately we all want the same. We might be bickering in the crypto sphere, but we all want freedom. We all want to get away from, So long story short, buy Bitcoin. And all your problems will go away.
Or go for XRP and wait for it to go to the moon.
You should fear those who are your enemies that don't join Bitcoin. They're the ones that will use bullets to solve the problem.
Fight! Marry me!